Moving to Crescent Hollow was supposed to be a new beginning, a chance for Lena to leave behind the heartache of her past and embrace a fresh start. The old Victorian house, inherited from her late Aunt Clara, stood on a hill overlooking the quaint town. Its gables cast long shadows in the afternoon sun, and the wraparound porch creaked with every step Lena took. She felt a strange mix of excitement and unease. The house was beautiful, with its stained glass windows and intricate woodwork, but it also held an air of melancholy. It was as if the walls themselves whispered stories of a time long past. Lena spent the afternoon unpacking boxes, her footsteps echoing in the silence of the house. The air was thick with the scent of dust and old furniture, a scent that spoke of memories both cherished and forgotten. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Lena stood by the living room window, gazing out at the town below. Crescent Hollow seemed peaceful enough, but there was an underlying current of something else, something she couldn't quite put her finger on. Maybe it was just her imagination, she thought, the product of a long day and an even longer drive. She decided to turn in early, hoping a good night's sleep would chase away the strange feeling that had settled over her. Little did she know, the night held something far more unsettling in store. Sleep came slowly for Lena that first night. The unfamiliar creaks and groans of the old house seemed amplified in the darkness. Her dreams were filled with fragmented images, flickering candlelight, a woman in a long white dress, and a haunting melody that seemed to seep from the walls themselves. She woke with a start just as the first rays of dawn were breaking through the darkness. The melody from her dream lingered in the air, faint but unmistakable. It was a melancholic tune, both beautiful and haunting, played on a piano she hadn't yet discovered in the house. Lena got out of bed and made her way downstairs, drawn by the sound as if by an invisible thread. The melody seemed to be coming from the living room, where she had stood just hours earlier watching the sunset. As she reached the doorway, the music stopped abruptly. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the sound of her own breathing. She stepped into the room, her eyes scanning the shadowy corners. There was no piano in sight, nothing to explain the source of the music. A shiver ran down her spine. Lena was suddenly certain that she wasn't alone in the house. Determined to find a logical explanation for the mysterious melody, Lena spent the next few days exploring the house. She checked every room, every nook and cranny, searching for a hidden piano or music box that could have produced the sound. She found nothing. Frustrated and increasingly unnerved, she decided to seek out the help of her neighbor, Mrs. Ruth Thompson. Ruth was a kind, elderly woman who had known Lena's aunt well. She listened patiently as Lena recounted her experience, her brow furrowing with concern. The house has always had its secrets, Ruth admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Clara used to say it had a way of holding on to the past. She suggested that Lena check the basement, a part of the house Lena had been hesitant to explore. Armed with a flashlight and a growing sense of dread, Lena made her way down the creaky basement stairs. The air was thick with the smell of damp earth and mildew. Cobwebs hung from every corner, and dust covered the few pieces of furniture scattered about. Ruth was right. The basement was like a time capsule, filled with the remnants of lives lived and lost. It was there, tucked away in a dark corner, that Lena discovered an old wooden chest, its surface covered in carvings. The chest was heavy, bound with tarnished metal clasps that took all of Lena's strength to pry open. Inside, she found a collection of old journals, their leather covers cracked and faded with age. They belonged to previous occupants of the house, their entries spanning several decades. With trembling hands, Lena began to read. The journals painted a vivid picture of life in Crescent Hollow in the early 20th century. There were stories of love and loss, of joy and sorrow, of everyday triumphs and tragedies. But woven throughout these ordinary tales was something far more extraordinary. Recurring accounts of a haunting melody that echoed through the house, a melody that mirrored the one Lena had heard. One entry, dated 1924, sent chills down Lena's spine. It described a devastating fire that had ripped through the house, claiming the lives of a young couple and their infant child. The writer, a neighbor who had witnessed the tragedy, spoke of a mournful piano melody that seemed to emanate from the flames, a final, heart-wrenching lament.